I came from Toronto and I moved down here with my dad. I grew up in Toronto. We'd been out west for 13 years and decided to come back home to Ontario. And my dad was very unwell at the time. So we went to Toronto. I tried to find a place to rent, but at the time we had a huge dog. So nobody would rent to us. So he had family in London and we thought, okay, let's go to London for 1 year. This was the whole thing. We're going to be in London 1 year and then we're out. So I've been here 20 years and came down here, met who I thought was a really great guy. He wasn't, he had some issues. So dissolved that relationship, but out of that relationship came my son, Zane. He's 18 years old now and was born 3 months early. And because of that, he has severe cerebral palsy. So he's confined to a wheelchair, completely dependent on everything from feeding to toileting, to brushing his teeth, to entertainment, everything. So when I left, I had a great job. I was making about $120,000 a year. Had to quit my job and was left with a child with severe disability, no money. And I was like, oh, now what? All I had was baby bonus, which wasn't a lot of money, especially with electric heat when I was paying $500 a month in the winter for my heat. And I started looking for a job. Well, no daycare would take my son. So I called around trying to get help and everybody's like, well, no, go on welfare. And I'm like, but I don't want to go on welfare. I want to work. I couldn't get back to work. So I found a food bank and I went to the food bank and it was the most humiliating, horrible experience that I ever had because I felt walking in there that they had a prejudgment. That I was this, I was that, I must have a drug issue, I was in an abusive relationship, I come from a broken family, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. It's a situation that came up that nobody could have planned for, and here I am. I think knowing that I had skills, and and I had some education, and I had been, and I was fortunate enough when I was younger, I traveled, and so I had sort of a bigger picture. I didn't think my life was just, I'm going to live in poverty for the rest of my life. But for years of having to go out and seek help, your confidence keeps taking a knock and you keep getting knocked and it comes to the point where you almost buy in and go, yeah, I'm poor. And I had to stop myself and think, you know what, I'm not poor, I'm broke. And to keep those two concepts very separate. To me, if you're poor, you realize that you're always going to be in that situation and you've given up. If you're broke, you just don't have cash right now, but you can do it. Everybody has something to give back and to help those people understand that they can do it and to give them the support and the encouragement and cheerlead for them, and celebrate the small successes. And when they fall down and they come in, you go, yep, that's okay, get back up, you can do it. A lot of people, they give up. And I think as service providers, we need to, it's great to give food. Here's some cans of food, it's triage. Here's a Band-Aid to keep you going. But really, first of all, our role has to be encouragement and being supportive of each other and to get rid of the us and them attitude, because really we're a cosmic family, right? And we have to look after each other. We need to realize we're connected and we need to look after each other. I can remember with clarity people who stripped me of my dignity, and who basically said, well, you've got yourself into this, you got to deal with it. And I left humiliated, and I went home and I cried, and I stayed in my pajamas for a couple of days. Came to the point, I'm like, well, who gave them the authority? Where do they think, from just a human component, like that they have the right to treat another human being like that? And it really shifted my whole thinking, like personally, professionally, parenting. To be truly compassionate is to really treat people like you want to be treated. And it's not like, being nice or buying nice birthday presents or any of the trappings. It's when you talk to someone, truly focus on them, actively listen to them. Don't ask questions unless you want an answer from them, and a true and an honest answer, and be ready for those answers. When I say, how are you today? And they say, my cousin died, my daughter's in jail, my son, I found him and he's been using meth. Don't go, oh. Actually say, okay, well, what are you doing to look after yourself? And allow people to feel like they're human beings. A lot of times people have been stripped of that feeling human. And I don't think service providers understand that when they leave, like when the person leaves the office, they're demoralized and they feel horrible. And when they go home, they could have done more damage than they realize. And you could have triggered someone's addiction. You could trigger someone's depression or, added to it and made it worse. And at the end of the day, it's just really, we're all together and we're all connected. And, when someone comes in, obviously professional boundaries in place, but I try to treat them like family. I think that every social service agency needs to have someone with lived experience on their staff. I think that they need to have that person to go, oh, they won't like that, and let me tell you why. Or they probably won't come to this, and let me tell you why. If I know something's coming up and I think it would be a good fit for them, I say, hey, this is coming up, and encourage them to go and say, it's going to be fun. We're going to just be hanging out, and we're going to be doing A, B, or C, and not always like that they're taking, but I always say, you're coming to the group, and I'm going to enjoy seeing you at the group. And they're like, oh, okay. And tying in with the food thing, it's great to give the 7 cans of food that we do, or 3 days worth at other agencies, but it doesn't solve the problem. Like I said, it's triage. The food's poor quality, and you're diabetic and you're given a bag with pancake mix and syrup and Kraft Dinner and Mr. Noodle and all things that are really unhealthy. It takes people, where I work, we're fortunate that people can choose their own food. So at least, we're saying take what you would like and not telling them what they have to eat. But nobody wants that. Everybody says, I wish I could go grocery shopping, or I wish I could have a garden, or I wish I could learn how to can. And that's where I see the move in the City of London going. And listen to the people. They know what they want, and they know 9 times out of 10 they have a better idea on how to make it happen than I would. And they're far more resourceful than I ever would be. And to give them those opportunities to have a voice at the table. How can we tell people what they want when we've never listened to them?